Welcome everybody to our second installment in the Research Pathways series. We got a lot of positive feedback from the first session, so we're going to go ahead and continue on theme. We had a lot of questions last time about professional research and what that looks and sounds like and how to get into those opportunities. And I'm so happy to have today's speaker join us and to shed some light on what that looks and sounds like. So thank you, everybody, and we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so first, for some of our new faces around here, we're going to do a little introduction about our organization, the Center for Excellence in Education. So CEE was founded in 1983 by Joanne DeGennaro and the late Admiral H.D. Rickover, who is the father of the nuclear navy and civilian uses of nuclear power. Our mission here at CEE is to nurture high school and university scholars to careers of excellence and leadership in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM, and to encourage international collaboration between and among leaders in the global community. We have 4 programs here at CEE, the first of which is the Research Science Institute, or RSI. RSI is a highly competitive 6-week summer science and engineering program open to rising high school seniors, and juniors are eligible to apply. RSI is the first cost-free summer science and engineering program that combines on-campus coursework in scientific theory with off-campus work in science and technology research. We also have the USA Biolympiad, or USABO. USABO is the premier U.S. biology education and testing program for high school students. It provides the motivation, curricular resources, and skills training to take them beyond their classroom experience to the level of international competitiveness. Since CEE began administering the USABO in 2003, every member of the USA Biolympiad team has medaled at the IBO. Next, we have the Teacher Enrichment Program, or TEP. TEP provides opportunities for middle and high school teachers to connect with leading experts from industry and academia, explore cutting-edge research and development, and make meaningful professional links with direct benefits for teachers and students. Finally, we have STEM Lyceums, which is us here today. STEM Lyceums is a virtual club for high school students to meet once or twice a month to learn about STEM career pathways from leading field experts. Industry professionals share cutting-edge research and offer unique learning experiences like scholarships and internship opportunities for high-achieving students. Welcome, all of you. Thank you for joining us. You may also learn more about our programs using the links below or go directly at www.cee.org. All right, so now I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker, Dr. Kar. Dr. Kar received her Master's of Science in Molecular Biology in 2007 from the University of Pune, India, and earned her Ph.D. from the Uniformed Services University of Health Sciences in Bethesda, Maryland. Her doctoral research focused on elucidating the mechanisms of innate and humoral immune responses to polysaccharide protein and bacterial antigens and vaccines using a mouse model of Streptococcus pneumoniae. Following her PhD, Dr. Kar completed a postdoctoral fellowship at the Vaccine Branch Center for Cancer Research, the National Cancer Research at Frederick, where she investigated cancer immunotherapy using rodent tumor models. Prior to her doctoral training, she served as a research fellow at the National Institute of Virology in India, and later worked as a biologist in the Laboratory of Malaria Immunology at NIH. Dr. Kar joined BIOQUAL Inc. in late 2016 as a staff scientist. She was promoted to research director in 2020 and then vice president of preclinical models and services in early 2023. She currently also serves as the company's vice president of marketing. With over 16 years of experience in preclinical animal models and immunoassays, she has played a key role in developing and validating new models for infectious diseases, including SARS-CoV-2, monkeypox, MRSA, Mayaro virus, malaria, and others, as well as rodent tumor models for preclinical testing at BIOQUAL. In her current role, Dr. Kar is responsible for identifying new business opportunities, overseeing preclinical research operations involving small animal models, and associated in vitro testing, and leading the company's marketing and branding initiatives. So thank you very much, Dr. Kar, for joining us.
Good evening, and hopefully it's going to be a very quick presentation. And again, as Rebecca mentioned, definitely let me know if you have any specific question to any of the topic that I will be talking about. I'm not planning to go more into the science part of things, but if you have any, again, additional question about the scientific research, please definitely, even reach out to me. So what I plan to cover here today is to start with briefly talking about various landscape of STEM career pathways, because definitely that has evolved a lot over the last couple of years. It has been more so driven by rapid technological innovations. And interdisciplinary collaboration, which definitely encourages a lot of diversity and continuous learning. Um, and then I'm also going to touch base, basically talking a little bit more about some traditional and alternative career trajectories, based on my experience and also the industry knowledge that I've gained over past couple of years. And then lastly, I'm going to go over a specific, significantly growing sector within the biotech industry, because that's where I am in currently. And that's the contract research organization platform, which is again very interesting in a way. And also uh, I wouldn't say a lot of people are aware of that. So I'll just go briefly over what that means and what kind of opportunities there are, and then also discuss about the critical roles and impact that it has in our advancement of biomedical research. So here I've listed a couple of diverse STEM career pathway, and this is more so guided by how it looks like in general when it comes to application and opportunities and options, basically. So the STEM career landscape, as I mentioned, extends beyond traditional research positions currently. And the nice thing is because of this various opportunities, the graduates are finding very fulfilling careers in different sectors. It can be science policy, creating educational centers, developing regulatory framework, and also launching innovative startups. So if you look at this particular figure here, basically what I'm trying to show here is there are a lot of opportunities when it comes to our options, when it comes to support function. There are a lot of things that one can think of, like science communication, policy, regulation, education, and more. Then there is applied sciences, where it could be in the field of engineering, healthcare, technology, implementations of various implementations and things like that. And then there is a little bit more focused sector where it's more like R&D, which again can be on various different fields, not necessarily on a specific field, but and that can extend not only to academic world, but also industry, labs, and also government institution. And then last but not least is the sector where it's more associated with innovation and entrepreneurship, which is and examples of that would be creating different startup based on research and discoveries. And I wanted to bring this up because I do feel that we do have a lot of information about the different career fields in STEM, opportunities or career pathways. But I think it's also important to think about, or as long as you are aware of your interest and what you want to do, or even kind of find out what options are available based on I would say the end result, or what exactly you are interested in doing. For example, are you interested more in the supporting function, where it's kind of more like a lot of options are available versus more concentrated or focused? And everything needs focused again, more so like, do you want to be an entrepreneur? Because those things uh, uh, are kind of little separate from each other in a way that how you want to prepare yourself from the very beginning. It's pretty important to think about it from the early stages of your STEM career. Um, and then little bit more about my personal journey in the STEM journey. And Rebecca already mentioned briefly about it. So yes, I did my master's, and I did a lot of different things throughout my career when it comes to my training and background. So I started with a bachelor in microbiology and did my master's in molecular biology. I also did a post-graduation diploma in bioinformatics because at that time I was very interested in computer science and programming, etc. And then I followed up with a couple of years doing my PhD, and the focus was immunology. Again, one of the topic that definitely I used to look forward to because it was very complicated, I felt, especially thinking about, in the context of human body and how it responds to all the different infections and things like that. And the academic foundation definitely helped me a lot in, creating are gaining the knowledge and creating the foundation, gaining the research methodologies, expertise in them, and definitely help me to create that foundation that obviously helped me for where I am today, or even to do what I have to do every day. Now, between the various, I would say, uh, various programs that I was, kind of pursuing, did between bachelor's, master's, PhD. I also spent some time gaining more research knowledge, in the lab, which was more like hands-on research. So definitely that helped me to work in a very collaborative environment and build a collaborative network with a lot of other fellow researchers and colleagues, and also mentors and PIs, which kind of again helped me for what I do today. My first industry transition was after I did my very short postdoc, and that was in the company that I am today, BIOQUAL Inc. Now, that is a contract research organization, and I'm going to briefly talk about that, what that means. But definitely, that absolutely helped me to gain exposure to the commercial aspect of research. Because we always do think about the application part of things. And again, from very early on, I knew I was not a person who would want to go for the academic, route. Again, I felt like it definitely helped me because I was able to make that switch very early on in my career, and, followed that pathway. And definitely, it helped me to develop the additional skills that was again needed for the commercial aspect of doing the scientific work. And then with all of these experiences, in my current role, though I am still a scientist because I like to be a scientist, I still have additional role, of managing a team, and also looking at other aspects of expanding the research on what we do, talking to people, in a way, marketing strategy, different things that we do in our company. Definitely one of the most important thing that definitely enjoy in my current role is being able to identify and look for different things. So it's never boring. It's very interesting that things change every day, and having and being able to strategize that depending on what is needed based on the current disease model, or let's say, any kind of pandemic or epidemic, and building that with other biotech companies in collaboration with that, basically vaccines and therapeutics they have that they would like to test, kind of helps us to strategize what would be our next step to advance our preclinical testing for human disease. So definitely, my journey wasn't linear. It involved calculated risk, unexpected opportunities, and continuous adaptation. The most valuable lesson I've learned is that versatility and openness to the interdisciplinary collaboration are crucial in today's rapidly evolving STEM landscape. And the reason I say that is because when I took my first job in the CRO, I was not aware what a CRO means. But just because, I definitely felt that the opportunity and the job description or the work seemed very interesting and challenging to me. I had taken that leap and took that challenge to move to my next phase of my life. So again, as I mentioned, I am hoping to give you a little bit more information about contract research organization and why that is necessary, because I obviously it is associated with my current profession. So it's kind of a new platform that some of you might not be aware of. As I said, I was not aware of what a CRO is when I started my career in this field. And also, I think this is a very rapidly growing sector of biotech world and is pretty much well known to support a lot of big to small to large companies, biotech sectors, pharma companies, and also government. And academia in many ways. And also, again, it also seems to be a nice an opportunity, a good career option or career sector that supports various STEM pathways, not just scientists and not just biotech or biotechnology or infectious disease. There are various things that one can take up if you want to have a career in a contract research organization. So quickly going over and understanding what a contract research organization does, there are different types of CRO that are available. Some CROs are involved more in the discovery and development, so compound identification and optimization. So basically, let's say there's a company, they have or maybe an academic lab. They have tons of molecule that they want to go to the next phase. They generally reach out to the CROs for assisting them with identifying specific compounds and optimizing them because they have the bandwidth to do them in high throughput. And also, like there are other factors that are involved. For example, following rigorous protocol. There are different types of labs that can support this kind of work because it's very important to have the repeatability, consistency of data, and those things are achieved by having very rigorous protocol, which have been optimized and validated. And then, these CROs are doing this every day. So they kind of know an expert in those fields. So it's kind of easy for them to take it from bench and to, move them to the next phase of basically it's called lead optimization, right? Then the next type of CRO, again, you can talk about, maybe in a sequential way where, you have a lead molecule. The next thing that generally a biotech company would want to look for is a CRO who can perform the preclinical testing, and that's where we come into picture. So preclinical testing basically means you are not testing them in human, but you are basically testing them in either in vitro system, which could be a cell line, depending on what you're looking for, or an animal model. So not necessarily all preclinical testing require animal testing, but there are some testing that definitely requires animal testing because it needs a more complicated system. And also with the animal testing, it's more or less always associated with some kind of in vitro testing after that. So basically, a preclinical testing CRO, just like what we do, our CRO, helps in testing the safety and the efficacy of the compound that is then, submitted to the regulatory agency for approval to go into the clinic, which is human. So, for example, I can give you an example of the type of work we did very recently, I would say during the COVID-19 pandemic. We had tested most of the vaccines that were, approved, authorized by FDA and some of the other international agency for SARS-CoV-2. And the way it was done was we had assays that were developed using the actual virus. So it's a SARS-CoV-2 virus, and I would say the pandemic started early February of 2020, and by then we already had the virus, the human virus that was isolated from the human, and we had expanded that. In the lab, we had different assays established. We had animal models, so like small animal models like mouse, hamsters, and also non-human primates. We already had established them so that we can test different vaccines and different therapeutics to see if they can actually have an effect on the real virus. And it was important because not just to look at the efficacy of the compound against the virus, but also, was it safe? Is it safe? Like, I know it's not completely comparable. You cannot compare mouse to a non-human primate to a human, but still there are certain similarities that still exist, and you can still see and identify various compounds if they're toxic in a particular system. So there are a multitude of different things that preclinical CRO does, which definitely is important, because then basically you have the necessary information that is required to be submitted to a regulatory agency, which is FDA. So again, there are CROs which are specifically providing that kind of support, the regulatory support. Our CRO and some of the other CRO are also capable of helping with that, but there are also specific CROs that can help with that, because that's what they do every day, so that they have the complete package. They can, find out if there are any, things that might be missing and needs to be added and things like that. So then these documents are then submitted to FDA, so that they can determine if it is safe and then can be used. So then it then moves to the clinical trial phase, where again a contract research organization specializing in clinical trial generally helps in setting those up with human patients or human volunteers. That's the term that's used. So there are various ways a contract research organization can assist in this whole pathway. And they serve as specialized partners that help the pharmaceutical and biotech companies navigate the complex process of their product development. They also provide the expertise, infrastructure, operational efficiency that many companies cannot maintain in-house, because as you can see, there are like various components that are involved in this whole pathway. CROs also accelerate the path from discovery to market by conducting critical testing protocols, because that needs to be established, optimized, and validated, right? They assist in preparing regulatory documentation, offering specialized knowledge across multiple therapeutic areas. This partnership model has become integral part to modern drug development, reducing time to market while maintaining scientific integrity, because each of these sectors, they are very specific and very specialized. They can do things very quickly instead of one entity developing everything together. So then talking a little bit more, about animal studies, just as an example, as I was mentioning earlier, there are certain things that are very important to understand, that when one conducts an animal study, it's very controlled and regulated, and it's very specific. So, for example, if one needs to, perform a specific kind of testing, and again, let's say an example pertaining to a specific disease, one has to identify a specific animal model, because not every animal model is going to work for every disease, right? So, the CROs, or like preclinical CROs like us, we, work on this every day to determine like what would be the novel model, what could be an animal model that could be used for these diseases. And most often, like for us, we use human viruses or the host viruses in real life to be able to look at those viral diseases, or even bacterial diseases, parasite diseases like malaria and things like that. And there are also other studies where we are trying to look for toxicity of drug compounds. Again, all of these are guided by what you're looking for. So it's kind of very specific. And then the whole idea is to optimize an animal model and design a protocol, which again aligns with the regulatory standards. Now, as I mentioned, working with animal is not easy because a lot of regulatory compliances and approvals that we have to get to make sure that one is following the protocols, right? Safe protocols, safe use of animals. So there are a lot of different regulatory agencies that are associated. Again, that's also a career path, right? If you think about it. So, you know, um, a CRO has to get those regulations approved from those regulatory agencies to be able to work with animals to make sure that they have safe housing, proper care, control, cleanliness, veterinarian doctors and things like that in place to be able to get those accreditations. And not only that, even when we have to work with a lot of different viruses, which pertains to human and also animal diseases. We also have to get CDC approval and USD approval to even be able to get those viruses, bacteria, parasites shipped to us for being able to work with those viruses. For example, we work with influenza, we work with SARS-CoV-2. So when it comes to influenza, for example, high path influenza, H5N1, which is currently in news because of the dairy farms, we already have kind of animal models set up, and we have also started testing different vaccines and therapeutics for that. So for doing that, we had to get those permits in place because the virus that we use was isolated from human and was obtained from CDC. So there are a lot of regulations that are associated. Again, the reason I'm mentioning that is also because those agencies are also part of the same pathway. So they're like multiple opportunities when you think about in this career pathway. And then, as part of the preclinical testing with animals and without animals, there are also a lot of assays that are developed. So that is, kind of very interesting because not all assay fit for all the models. So it's very customized. So it's kind of changing every day and it's very interesting. But again, the foundation, like you mentioned, the initial foundation that one gets from the STEM education and then the experience, hands-on experience and the knowledge that you get from the various training programs, it's very, very crucial for these particular steps. And, I would say responsibilities, because if the foundation is strong and the concepts are very clear, I think one can definitely take those challenges and be confident about their next step and use that knowledge and apply it for various things. Then, again, the assays definitely, generate a lot of data. So definitely that's another part where the preclinical animal studies, like the CROs are involved in a lot of data management. So like, using a LIMS system, which is an automated lab notebook system, which is pretty new, but most of the labs have been using that, or having a very established, system to make sure that data is curated, analyzed, and, it's very important to have the basic concept of not making any changes in the raw data and following protocol is very crucial in this kind of role and pathway. And the other thing is, working in a CRO can also be very challenging, just like any of the other places, because it's very much guided by timelines. So we have very strict timelines, and sometimes everything needs to be done yesterday, we say, because, they need, high throughput testing, and, they have specific timelines that we have to, deliver the data and the testing. So definitely it's pretty complicated, but I think, again, having a very solid background, knowing a lot about, various different things, or, creating that platform, from the very beginning, basically the foundation definitely helps in all of these challenging steps. So, as I mentioned again, CROs provide the expertise and infrastructure, that sometimes it's very challenging for the academic and industry team for various reasons. And, their specialized capabilities definitely bridge the critical gaps in the preclinical research ecosystem. And then, a couple of more, points to think about. What is their impact on the biomedical research if they're just supporting the biotech companies and pharmaceutical companies? Well, definitely CROs bridge laboratory discoveries, right, with clinical applications, accelerating the bench to bedside pipeline. So they do participate and contribute to the translation research because they're in the middle of a lot of different things. Then, they also assist in the accelerated development. So because of the specialized expertise and efficient protocol, the time to market is reduced by 30 to 40%. Then also, like, there is a very interesting concept of global innovation network because, again, being a part of CRO, you also get to work with a lot of different, I would say, collaborators, which could be, a cross-border collaboration, connecting various academic centers with, industries, partners, creating powerful and sometimes these collaborations are very, very meaningful, irrespective of where and how those were created, because it's changing every day, and the opportunity is to be able to work with so many different, partners across the world. And then, as I mentioned, and my favorite part is pandemic responses. So, like, being part of the CRO definitely helps us to establish models for high consequence pathogens, rapid testing for emerging threats like SARS-CoV-2, Zika, monkeypox, H5N1. So definitely, if somebody is interested in research, this is this is a pathway which is never going to bore you. It's very interesting to see the changes that we see across every day. And then, again, as we were going through all of this, I mean, I think one of the important thing to think about between academia and industry, and again, as I mentioned at the very beginning, it's good to be aware, what we would want to do in future very early on. And knowing that difference definitely helps because, like, when I was trying to transition, as I mentioned, I felt and I knew that I am not meant for the academic environment. And it might work, it might not work for some. Some people are very much research oriented, and definitely academic environment is the best pathway for them. So I have listed some basic things that I feel are the basic differences between these two different environments. So when you work in an academic environment, the focus is on discovery and knowledge creation, publication-driven recognition. It's a long-term research timeline. So you can do a lot of in-depth analysis. You can look at different things, which is very interesting. It's also grant-based most of the time, unless you have again, collaborations with multiple different labs. But again, at the end of the day, there is some funding requirement for doing those kind of research. And again, these are also individual recognition emphasized. However, when it comes to industry environment, these are more like application and product development focus. They are market-driven priorities, like most of the things that we do is based on need and requirement. There are very accelerated timelines with milestones. It's very quick, like tight timelines that one has to definitely address. This is also, driven by revenues and ROI consideration, which is basically revenue of investment. So basically, if somebody is investing, they're also looking for the revenue generated from the investment. And then in this kind of environment, it's a team effort. So the team achievement is prioritized. So it's never one person because it's so complicated that you definitely need a team of people to be able to achieve what your ultimate goal is. Now, successfully transitioning between academia and industry requires understanding of this fundamental cultural differences, like I mentioned. And the most adaptable professional recognize that both environments value scientific rigor, but express it through different metrics and processes. So it depends, what environment suits you better. Collaborative projects between universities and industry partners create a lot of valuable bridge, and that has become very common nowadays. And a lot of the other universities, they have spin-off startups, which again, it's more like collaborative and hybrid in the very beginning, which also allows researchers to maintain scientific credibility while gaining exposure to commercial applications of their work. And then I have also mentioned or listed some of the basic qualities or skills that, again, it's my personal opinion. I feel like definitely helps for being successful in the industry. It goes a long way if, there is a lot of collaborative effort between the teams. So the collaborative mentality, thoughtfulness is very, very important, because the industry research depends on cross-functional teams. So working together towards a common goal helps in achieving them very quickly. And I would say more um, positive. Then having the business acumen is also very important because, again, as I mentioned in the industry, one also is very much driven by revenue. So if you are thinking from the very beginning that, oh, this is my goal and this is what I'm trying to achieve and this is going to help in the business, it definitely goes long way. So, understanding how research translates to business value is very crucial. So definitely, familiarizing yourself with the basic concepts like return on investment, market analysis, competitive positioning definitely helps. And again, as there definitely was a transition in my role from the science to the more strategy in business, and definitely this particular part helped me to kind of be able to think about what we can do to achieve this particular goal when it comes to our strategies, our revenues, and things like that. So definitely that was something that added, this knowledge definitely added a lot when I think about myself and my career um, pathway. Um, and project management is definitely that we have, and I would say I've personally seen is a very crucial thing that definitely helps, in planning and preparing you for, successful projects, like project completion. And then stakeholder management, which means learn to identify and address the needs of various stakeholders, not just your team, but from scientific peers to business leaders and external partners, because that goes a long way. And adapting communication style accordingly. So the communication is also a very crucial part, but that's all part of this, this umbrella, I would say, point, which is like more or less understanding the whole idea of stakeholder management. So while technical expertise remains the foundation, your success in industry setting will largely depend on these complementary professional skills. So, for example, when we try to hire people for certain role, definitely we look at their skill sets, but like the most important thing definitely still remains their personality, their communication, experience with project management, thinking out of the box. These are very important criteria that we look in individual, people who are already qualified on the scientific side. Um, of what we are looking for. So considering seeking mentorship again from those who have successfully made the transition, as they can provide valuable guidance specific to your field. And this is definitely something that I recommend, again, talking to people who have made those transitions, who have been successful, in those pathways, talking to them and, getting that guidance early on would definitely help. Also, sometimes identifying in what you are interested in doing in future. I've also listed some of the undergraduate research opportunities that are also again available to build up your research skill if you're interested. So there are university research lab that provide research opportunities for interns. There are also summer research programs, which are short-term programs. Again, helps you to identify if that's something you are even interested in doing. There are also industry internship. These are mostly paid internship, and there are also CRO experiences and internship that are available. And again, these are paid internship, and depending on your interest, there are various opportunities from small, big, large companies, and there are, I would say, also opportunities that sometimes those biotech companies and pharmaceutical companies have collaborative post-graduation opportunities, funding opportunities for funding your education, higher education, and things like that. So again, early research experience definitely provides invaluable context for your academic studies and helps clarify career interest. Even basic laboratory roles teach fundamental techniques, like I was mentioning. Um, the foundation is very, very important, right? And expose you to the rhythm and culture of professional research environment. When seeking opportunities, definitely emphasize your willingness to learn rather than existing expertise. Many researchers value the enthusiasm and reliability over previous experience, particularly for undergraduate positions. And, this is my last slide, which is discussing more about the key takeaways and next steps. So, as I mentioned, definitely explore diverse pathways. There are many to pick from. Consider both traditional and alternative STEM careers. Definitely build connections, network across academia and industry. Develop various skill sets, balance technical and professional capabilities, not just focusing on technical capabilities or professional capabilities, and then take initiative because that's a very strong point that generally people appreciate and encourage, and seek experience that bridge different environments. The boundaries between academia and industry continues to blur, creating unprecedented opportunities in the current world for those with adaptable skill sets and interdisciplinary interests. So your STEM education provides a solid foundation, but your willingness to explore diverse applications of that knowledge will ultimately define your career trajectory. And remember that career paths rarely follow a straight line. Each experience, whether in a university lab, a CRO setting, or an entirely different environment, contributes valuable perspective and skills. Stay curious, remain open to unexpected opportunities, and continue building both technical expertise and professional capabilities. And with that, this is my contact information in case if you're interested. There's a QR code which takes to my contact information as well for you to be able to save here. And with that, I'm happy to take any question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carr. It was amazing information that you shared, especially those aspects of complementary skills to build on what we already know in our STEM fields. That was very excellent. Q&A is open for any of you that want to submit your questions. While we're waiting for those to come in, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So building off what you're talking about cooperation and collaboration, Dr. Carr, do you have any advice on how to build those relationships and networks during undergrad or grad school?
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, one of the thing would be to be able to seek for different training programs, like I mentioned, a couple of them, trying to have a mentor early on. And there are various platforms to do that. LinkedIn is one. You can even participate in some of the conferences at undergraduate level. It doesn't have to be a very complicated, pathway or process. And also like reaching out to people, like just finding the information, Google is very strength, like it's very informative. And with AI, everything is super easy. So reach out to people, just email them, or even reach out and contact them like, hey, can I stop by? I'm interested in this. And most of the people, I would say, would entertain that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So another question that just came in is, what is the undergrad major requirements for a job role as a research scientist?
So undergraduate, so it depends from company to company. Some companies are very strict about their basic qualification and they require a PhD to be considered as a scientist. However, I would say the minimum requirement to serve in a lab as, starting with a technical specialist, and even some labs have that named as scientist would be an undergraduate degree with some more technical certificates, if possible.
Thank you. Another question that we had come in is, I think, referring to, students that were applying to like summer programs or trying to lock down opportunities for this summer. Is it still possible to get a mentor for the summer or summer opportunities at this point?
I think so. I mean, I do feel that it's still, the option is always there. And sometimes it is guided by what you're looking for because there is always an opportunity of volunteering because a majority of the time, um, the issue is also funding, right? Depending on where you're trying and planning to do your summer internship, because not every company, not every program has a funding source or has funds to cover that. So if you are really interested in something, if it's me, I would just reach out and mention that, oh, I am very interested, and even to the extent that I can try to be a volunteer and learn more things. I mean, when I started my career here, I did volunteer at NIH for a couple of months before, they identified that, well, maybe I'm useful. So, that definitely helped me and made a big impact in my career.
Mhm. So just putting your foot out there and getting involved is kind of the first step.
Yep.
Awesome. So this is a great question about kind of cross career connections. So if someone wanted to get involved in an organization like the FDA, should they go for a med route, so pre-med medical route, or do they pursue a hard science?
So FDA offers a lot of different career opportunities. So there is no hard and fast rule, right? It has positions for pre-med, engineers, and even scientific writers, tech writers. So it kind of depends what you are looking for. That's the most important thing. It's not what you need to do, that comes next. So there are a lot of opportunities, but I would again say it's good to have connecting with somebody who has a knowledge about how this works, and talk to the person and maybe find out more what would align with your interests and what opportunities are available. And FDA does have a lot of internship options. To the best of my knowledge, it's called the ORISE program, which definitely can have, I think, undergrads and postgrads and even PhD students. Definitely, I would say most of these places, they encourage, students to kind of see where they are and where they want to be, to have that exposure.
Thank you so much. So going on that vein of those internship opportunities or their volunteer opportunities, do you have any recommendations on how a student could potentially stand out when applying for those opportunities?
So one of the thing, that could stand out, I would say, is in your approach, right? So, like there could be 5 applications, and most of the applications could mostly mention about your skill sets and your education, but I think more so is your approach, how you're approaching, right? Are you showing, additional curiosity? Are you talking about a specific thing that lab or that institute is doing that you are interested in? Because that shows more interest and that you have done your homework, right? Kind of stands out a little bit. Is my opinion. And also like reaching out, right? Like, being bold enough to reach out directly and, kind of talk about your interests. There are certain things that makes you different than others.
Hmm. And then I think also, expressing interest in the PI's work and what they're doing, I think is also critical.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah.
we, we have a lot of eager students, and a lot of them kind of jump the gun to straight ask for the mentorship opportunity instead of kind of
Yes.
building that connection first, right?
Exactly, because the whole idea, as I mentioned, is about showing your interest, right? So it's not just interest about that position or the internship, it's interest about that research, right? That should be the driving force, right? And then the internship will follow.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question. Keep them coming, guys. Yeah, lovely questions have been coming in. Another thing that you mentioned was taking calculated risks and being open to fail at something. Do you have a
Mhm.
piece of advice for a person that might be a bit more risk averse or not prone to take that first step?
I think the advice would be again talk to people who have failed but have been successful. Because I think sometimes those are um, kind of life experiences that kind of gives you that strength to take that risk, but also have a feeling that what if I fail? It's not the end of the world. There is always an opportunity after that. I mean, um, you know, there are a lot of different things to worry about than just failing one time. So I would not worry about, failing at that. And, I think that makes you strong person. And every failure gives you more knowledge for your next time. You learn something.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Let's see. Just checking our Q&A. Let's see. What level of math is needed at a high school to pursue a career as a research scientist or regulatory or public health?
So I would say basic mathematics is definitely required because even when you're doing your science, there is calculation. You don't need calculus, you don't need limits, but basic calculations are always important. From where I have been, we have never used calculators. You know, I have learned using the scientific calculators later in my life. So, knowing and understanding the basic of maths is very crucial because, for example, when we do dose preparations, right, making sure that you know how to do those calculations, right, dilutions, which are very crucial for any kind of work. And, be it in regulatory agencies or biotech companies, the calculations are always going to be there, right, because you want to make sure that whatever you're doing is accurate and appropriate. So those basic knowledge is definitely important.
Going along those lines about tools that are being implemented in research, especially commercial research, we know in academia, especially at the high school level, generative AI is becoming a prevalent tool for use for good or bad. Do you see a use of generative AI in your role and function? In
Yes, we do. So I do think that AI is a very useful tool. But I think the responsibility and the risk is depends on the person or the user. So it's up to us to be able to use that appropriately and safely because AI can be used in a lot of different things. For example, in my role, I use AI almost every day in doing research. I want to combine different research. So there are options in AI which can pull data from various different publications instead of reading hundreds of, manuscripts and, articles, right? That's one easy way to put that thing. AI also helps in summarizing things, which again, you cannot completely, and that's where I'm saying you have to be careful because you cannot just blindly follow that because as a scientist I then go back and look at the references. Does it make sense, right? So there are different ways one can use AI. I mean, I think the AI is much more polished version of basically using bioinformatics in past. It's much more like, smarter bioinformatics, but that was there a long time back, having huge data set, right? Like when people started working with huge data set, there was R programming and all of that that we used, to combine all of that to get a meaningful information from that. I think the next stage and the more advanced stage is AI, right? So we just have to be careful how we are using it because the command comes from us, what we want to do.
I think that's so fascinating, that connection between bioinformatics and AI. I've never really made that connection, but now that I hear it, I'm like, oh yes, that is. So another question that came in is, do you have any examples of biotech hubs or organizations on LinkedIn that might be good to follow or keep up with?
Yes. So there are a lot of different um, I am like basically I'm trying to find out what would be the right word. So basically like organizations, maybe. Yeah. There are a lot of organizations now, they're developing this for students and undergrads, postgrads to be able to transition in their career. Like recently I went to this meeting in Annapolis, and one of the things Governor Moore mentioned was you don't have to do a 15-year academic program or career to launch into your dream job, right? So that's why, at least in Maryland, I'm sure it's on other places too, they're encouraging and trying to have more training program. One of them is very close to, I would say, in Rockville. That's where I am. And it's called the BioHub. And yes, these are very active, organizations in LinkedIn too. So basically, you can connect with them. I definitely think they're also part of LinkedIn, where they have those, physical labs which have been established for training people, on specific procedures, and it can be for, and they are actually to support a lot of different biotech companies in this area. So similarly, that's at least I'm aware of. There is this biohealth network, and I can definitely take a look at some of the other options, but there are a lot of different things that's available. There's one additional organization, it's called BioBuzz. Again, that was started long time back to help postdocs, but I know they are basically kind of a bridge between prospective candidates, undergrads, postgrads, and a lot of different companies. And they hold a lot of different programs, conferences, webinars, and a lot of talk shows that, it's free of cost and, provides more information about, what's going on and what's helpful. So again, these are some of the local things and I'm talking about because I'm more aware of that, but there are definitely other opportunities as well, I'm sure. There are also like different programs that are now available through various universities. From what I remember, John Hopkins definitely had a couple of different programs for exposing a lot of, candidates, undergrads, grads, for training them for their career move.
Thanks so much. I'll be definitely checking out some of those groups to include in our newsletter. For all of you that actually read our newsletter, we'll include those links in there. I think this next one is an excellent question because we get this one a lot. Would you suggest any research article or resources that are tailored more for a beginner? Since we have a lot of students that are in the ninth grade or even in middle school that are just getting started in STEM, and it might be overwhelming to read somebody's postdoc dissertation.
So that's a very good question. And I would say, if you are early on and you want to learn more, I don't think, like you mentioned, the articles are going to help, right? Because if you think about it, review articles, research articles, a specific documentation of the detailed work they have done, right? What we do, if we want to have an overview of everything, we go for review articles, but still that's more detailed, right? So I think it depends what you're looking for, right? Like if you are more so looking to understand, let's say something about microbiology, right? I would say there are like a lot of encyclopedia which is available. that is the best resource. And the other resource, as I mentioned, AI. I would say right now, AI actually helps you in doing that. So you can actually type in what you're looking for, and that can provide you a lot of basic references that you can follow. So again, research published articles are more like published work of 5 to 10 years. So to get you prepared, again, I would say connect with somebody, go over encyclopedia. Like, I can give you an example how it helped me. Like, when I was in my middle school or even in my high school, I hated biology. My very first test, I failed in biology because I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. But then, I started reading that a lot, about what that is. I tried to relate that to different things which interested me more. And I started reading a lot of basic books, because those books which are age appropriate and level appropriate definitely helps you in encouraging and opening your knowledge, which helps you in your next stage of kind of connecting with it, that if that's what you want to do.
Thank you, Dr. Carr, for joining us. It was a wonderful presentation. Um, we love research here with RSI. So, any practical experience that we can hear from and real world applications, it's always wonderful. So thank you again for joining us today. I'd like to thank our sponsors. Without them, we'd not be able to keep our events cost free, especially like to thank the Claude Moore Charitable Foundation. Um, Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I know our schedules are quite busy, so it's been a pleasure having you all here. As a reminder, I'd like for you to complete the poll or the post-webinar survey. So if you follow the QR code or if you complete the poll that I've just put up, that will include your attendance. And then registration for our next session is open. We're working on advancements on machine engineering, so we'll be joined by two incredible mechanical engineers and representatives from TE Connectivity and Procter& and Gamble. So register for our next event. Once again, thank you, Dr. Carr. It was wonderful having you here. We learned a lot, and I think we got a lot of practical information that we could use.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and best of luck to everybody. Have a good rest of the night.